Well, Civil BRICS will be keeping an eye on the summit to ensure the implementation of recommended policies. Now, the group of civil society organizations from BRICS countries wants leaders to come up with policy that advocate for women and youth empowerment. Now, for more on this, we are now joined in studio by former BBC president and businesswoman Danisa Baloyi. Danisa, thank you for joining us. Let's dig straight into it. First of all, I want to get your impression of BRICS in South Africa. It's the 10th summit. What's your overall feeling?
Yes, I just saw former. I'm not former, still the president. They still have to deal with that. So let's get that out of the way.
All right, that's good to know. We'll make sure that the vast majority of our viewers make sure they get to know that.
No, definitely. I think I'm really thrilled about the involvement of civil society in the BRICS dialogue, because for a long time it was more political and more business without the serious involvement of the larger society. And that's why you have the criticism that the larger community doesn't even understand. BRICS is here. What does it mean to me?
Correct.
How is it changing my life? So I'm glad that people are doing that. I think when we went to BRICS in India, at the plenary, I was the only woman sitting at plenary. And of course, the MC actually said, "Sir, what are you going to say?" I said, "I'm wearing a pink suit." So, but the reality of the situation is that we do have to involve more women in BRICS. And involving more women doesn't mean putting them on panels or involving them on some of the programming that BRICS is part of. I'm talking about ensuring that you change their lives. The programs that BRICS comes up with must involve women businesses, making sure they move from A to B, ordinary people. So if we do not involve small, medium-sized enterprises, we are not touching the communities. We have to do that. I'm glad that we are there. And I'm also glad that the youth have come up with a big proposal of saying, we want youth entrepreneurship to be involved. And that is something that they put on the table. And I hope that it will be accepted and youth entrepreneurship is driven throughout the continent and the BRICS societies.
All right, staying with the BRICS issue, you know, one of our reporters was just in Alexandra yesterday, a township that's just right around the corner from Sandton. And as you spoke eloquently about, the vast majority of the people living in Alexandra had no idea or clue of what BRICS is.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done to socially enlighten the youth and women of Alexandra? What practical steps in terms of programs? I know it's a gradient scale. We can't just take them from zero to understanding all the implications of BRICS, but what do you think are the step-by-step processes to get the citizens of that township conscious
of what's happening? I think we need to take the discussion to the people. First, if you walk through the streets of any of our communities and say BRICS, will they understand what it is? I think we need to take the discussions to the people, province by province, to ensure that there's a buy-in for the BRICS community, for the BRICS initiative. I think if we listen to the leaders, both President Ramaphosa and President Xi yesterday, Xi Jinping, they were talking about ensuring that BRICS goes to communities, that intra-Africa trade is enhanced. But with whom? If the people don't understand. I think if we talk innovation, scientific innovation and deeper cooperation, who are we cooperating with? We have to cooperate with the people. And if there are exchanges, whether it is in mining, aerospace, I'm in the aviation working group of BRICS. And I think there's so much that can be done. But does it permeate to the ordinary person who, here in South Africa, who most probably is black, want to be in the aviation industry? That's where it starts. If we make sure that our people are part and parcel of those things that we are pushing in agriculture, in science and technology, in aviation, all of the working groups that BRICS is pushing, then there will be more of an embracing of the BRICS idea. At the moment, they just see it as something over there with just a select few, not everybody.
So as I was saying, don't you think it should start at the secondary school level, educating some of the students, taking them on excursions to this summit, allowing teachers to talk about it so they gradually step into the, like I said, consciousness of what BRICS is all about?
Yes, I think BRICS is not going away. Mm-hmm. We will have BRICS for a very long time, and I think it shouldn't. The East itself, let us talk to China. I saw one of the comedians, and in one of the papers, they have something that says BRICS takeaway. I will never blame a Chinese takeaway. And they have the map of Africa tied. I will never blame the Chinese if they come here and we allow them to take away everything. Where are the best brains of Africa to make sure that when they put programs on the table, we benefit? When the an agreement is written, it is that side and this side. And if our people who are crafting those agreements and they are signing them do not make sure that our national interest is taken care of, or the African national African interest is not taken care of, we cannot blame the Chinese.
All right.
We're giving it away, then that's our problem. We've got to deal with it. From the very beginning, we have to make sure it works for us. There are many things. If you look at China 70 years ago, where were they? They were a struggling nation, but they had a plan that they said they were going to execute to be a world beater, to be number one. So we take the things that have worked for China and use them for ourselves and make sure that we are world beaters, and we can. Africa has the resources that even China needs, everybody needs. We are the future, but are we going to ensure that everybody who walks onto our continent leaves behind what works for us to change the lives of our people? If we don't do that, we can't blame the people who've come in here. We are wide awake, and if we are not, it's about time we woke up.
Well, that brings me to my next question, and hopefully you can tell our audience, what leverage do you think South Africa as a country has when it comes to negotiation with the other members of BRICS?
I think we do have. I always say, don't underestimate us. We are not a small S in BRICS. We are an S that is equal to the other letters. We have the same responsibility. We pay the same dues to BRICS like everybody else. So we are not there as a little favor. We are there as an equal partner. So if South Africa plays its cards well and we play our part effectively, it will really trickle down to the rest of the African continent because we are within BRICS. And I like the fact that our government, even before when we hosted BRICS, they made sure that the African leaders come. Now, it's broadened. When we went to China last year, they brought in more leaders from the emerging markets. That is, to me, a great thing, the BRICS Plus, because you put more and more people into the discussion. So we, as South Africa, are not seen to be dictating to everybody, but we're bringing everybody together. So the discussion from the very beginning, as one of my friends like to say, if we don't do that, the things won't end well. And things don't end badly, they start badly. So we have a unique opportunity to make sure we take everybody along with us from the very beginning and build this BRICS block and ensure it works for everybody. And we can. South Africa's leadership role is crucial in these discussions, because if they're talking about deepening China, Africa, or Russia, Africa, or Indian-African relations, We are in Africa. We should lead that discussion. They shouldn't lead that discussion. We should. And if we don't, we can't blame them.
Okay, that brings me to another question. South Africa is obviously the only African member state among BRICS. Why do you think South Africa has that unique privilege compared to the other African countries?
Well, I think it was a natural selection of South Africa. At the time when we entered, we were the biggest economy on the continent, and to a large extent we still are. And as a huge economy, I guess we were a natural choice. But the South African government policy is such that we don't go it alone. We go it with the continent. And I think it's a brilliant, brilliant policy that we push as South Africa to ensure that everybody else is on board. But what is important is that, number one, it's important for us to push our national agenda, to ensure that we transform the lives of the people.
Do we have a national agenda?
Yes, I think we do. I think we do. If you look at most of the policies of South Africa, we do have a coherent, clear agenda. The problem is, what do we do with those policies? That's where we fail. Do we implement the policies that we draw up? Most of the time, we don't, or we deviate from those policies that we draw. And then they are not embraced by our people. We do have national policies. Implementation is where we fail as a nation.
All right, before I let you go, Minister Davis mentioned the International Monetary Fund was predicting that the five-member union would, over the next 5 years, be responsible for more economic growth than even the G7 group of developed states. And to that, you say what?
I agree with him because think about it. The BRICS nation are like what, 41% of the entire population of the world? And then look at the growth in India. It's unprecedented. Russia is stable with its challenges. And if we look at China, China is galloping ahead. In spite of what people tell us, it's on a decline, but it is where it is, at the very top. So if we use the three, and then we look at South Africa as an emerging market, because we're not below the scale at minus. We're still above. We're still growing. And we look at Brazil, that might have had some challenges, but they also are growing. If you combine the five in a manner that will enhance growth, nobody can touch the BRICS nation. And I think that's why in the changing geopolitical and economic discussion, people feel nervous. And I think they shouldn't, because for many, many, many years, a lot of people have come into our continent, and a lot of resources have been extracted from our continent. But what do we have to show for it? It is about time when, if we say the fourth industrial revolution is here, it must work for Africa. If we say we want to see growth going forward, it first must work for our Africa. The problem is we've never used our resources effectively as the leverage for our economic prosperity. Maybe this is the lever that we needed. And if we hold hands, Africa holds hands in all spheres, civil society, business, the politicians, we're on our way to the top.
Okay, now finally, before I let you go, Danisa Baloyi, how many women, young women and youth, do you plan on mentoring about BRICS?
Basically, mentoring women and young people is something I do every day.
So how many are you mentoring at the moment?
At the moment, our push is that we bring as many women to BRICS as possible. If you look at the council in South Africa, it's never had more than one woman. It's always one woman, and if one woman is removed, it's replaced by another woman. That's where it starts. We have the working groups that I spoke about. we are going to make sure that the women's groups in South Africa put across candidates of people who will be in those working groups. And young people, by the way, because we have brilliant minds, young minds in this country, that sometimes I don't think we really take seriously, and put them in those working groups. That way, they participate, they interface with everybody, they have a lot to contribute to the discussion. And I think that's what we're working on. I'm on a lot of women's groups, and that is our plan, to make sure that nothing happens in BRICS going forward without women. We agitated for a BRICS Women's Council. It's still underway, it's still being discussed. Whether it will come to fruition or not, we'll keep pushing. However, we will use what is there already to ensure that there are more women who permeate it. And we hope that the women will be receptive to this. Yesterday, Dr. Snowy's Koza she was one of the panelists, said what is so difficult for her, being the head of Biogen, and then she goes to the rest of the continent or anywhere else in the world, and she starts negotiating for deals, and she would be the only woman there. We have to change that. We can't keep talking about it. And there has to be a commitment from our government to put more women in the strategic areas so that they can participate. Our voice is just as important. We are just as qualified.